I'm going to give you more of a real case example, okay? This is something that you absolutely could get in an interview in terms of type of question. Now, the prompt I'm about to give is inspired by one of my favorite cases to give when it comes to structuring. So it is as follows. Your client is a Vietnamese suit maker and tailor. Recently, they've been experiencing, a huge increase in the demand of their suits from overseas. And they brought us in because they'd like to increase the output of their suits, but they're really cognizant of not reducing the quality of their high quality product. And you've been brought in to essentially look at this. Okay? So just to re-articulate, you have a Vietnamese suit maker. They have an increase in demand. They need to increase their output or their production, and they can't reduce the quality of the high quality suits that they make. Okay? Now, you may have some clarifying questions. I'll give you a couple answers here. The suits are currently, done in workshops, and it's quite artisan, so that the workers have been there for a long time. The highly skilled workers are difficult to find. They do require training and that sort of thing. And right now the process is fairly handmade, and each worker makes their own suit. Okay. Now, some of that information may be relevant, some of it may not, but I'd like you to think about now, what is this structure going to look like, right? Think about our objective. Think about what are the key components and elements that are going to address this objective. And we'll give you a few minutes and we'll come right back. Okay, how did it go? Hopefully you were able to come up with some sort of framework that would help you answer this objective. What was the objective? Well, our objective was to increase our output without affecting quality. We needed to increase the number of suits that we were producing without reducing the quality of those suits. Okay, that's step number one. Now let's talk about how we actually are going to break this down. Now bear with me, okay? The first thing I'd like to say is there's no one right answer. And we're actually going to see this. I'm going to talk through a couple different frameworks that are actually, quite similar and overlap in a sense, but all of them individually are correct. So first of all, there's no one right answer, and normally with cases, that is true, that there is no one right answer. There's only a set of good ones, right? What matters is, are they segmented, and do they make sense? And can they, if answered individually, help you address and answer your problem, right, in a MECE way? Okay. So bear with me as I go through what some of these look like. Now again, we needed to increase output. How do we do this? What are the key components that make up output? Well, we can either increase the amount of things we're putting in to produce this output, or we can make those things in of themselves more effective, more productive, right? There's not really anything else that we can do. It's either increase the number of inputs, which in this case is workers or worker hours, or we can make those inputs, the hours more productive, right? A suit now only takes X amount of hours to produce instead of X plus 5. This is a good structure, right? Let's actually tailor it to the case a little bit more and say, okay, great. On the one hand, we want to look at ways that we can increase worker hours, right? And on the other hand, we want to look at ways to reduce the number of worker hours required to make a suit. That's pretty MECE. Let's break down that first bucket, right? Worker hours. How can we, and now we're looking inside the bucket into a second level structure, how can we increase worker hours? Well, we could either hire more workers, or we could have our existing workers work more hours, right? Bring in more people to make more suits, or have our existing people work, 9 hours a day instead of 8. What's our concern with that second one, or even the first one? Quality. So we have to always be cognizant of the full extent of the case, not just the main objective, but also the needs, wants, and goals of the client, right? Okay. So if we want to increase worker hours, that's pretty simple, right? I don't think we need to break that down anymore. But let's think about increasing workers. What are our options? Okay, well, one, we could hire workers that already are of good quality, right? We know, they've been doing suits for a long time. They've been in this industry for a while. Can we grab them from either the market itself, they're not unemployed, or can we poach them from competitors, right? Alternatively, to get more workers or new workers, what we could do is we could find people that aren't quite there yet but can be trained, right? So this would be, possibly other clothes makers, right? People who make scarves or dresses or whatever it may be, and can we retrain them? Or could it be people that work in a slightly lower tier quality of suits, and can we train them to be better? Or could we get people out of, say, college or university or high school and train them to make these suits for us? Now, what's the concern here? Well, we didn't say it in the case, but presumably time is not on our side, right? We have a big increase in demand. We need to increase output and do it pretty quickly. So again, as we talk about this, we have to think about, one, okay, will it meet our quality standards? And can this be done in under, 6 to 12 months, or is this a multi-year thing? Okay, so within my structure, I'm still thinking about the considerations. Let's zoom out, right? We've gone increased number of worker hours by either increasing the workers or the hours worked per worker. Within workers, we've talked about, hey, can we hire people who are already good, or can we hire some people that aren't that good but can be good? Structure. The second bucket, we'll call it, or area, is going to be our productivity, right? Can we get our existing and possibly new workforce to work more effectively? Fewer hours for the same amount of suits, which means if we work the same hours, we make more suits. Let's think about the structure here. Okay, thematically, what could be changed? Well, we could make our labor inherently more effective, right? This could be training or incentives, mentorship, a reorganization, putting people what they're good at, whatever it may be. Labor, can we make our labor inherently better? Alternatively, what's the contrast to labor, right? The constant tug of war, labor and capital, okay? Can we employ more capital, right? This means machines or tools or technology, right? What machines or technology can we bring in to automate some of this process, right? Maybe it's in the stage of cutting the fabric. Maybe it's in the stage of stitching. Maybe we bring in some better hand stitching machines that can automate, right? What does this actually look like in terms of tools and machines that we can bring in? They might either replace steps, so replace labor at certain points, or they might complement labor, right? That could be a substructure, right? What do we have to consider here? Quality, right? We have to make sure that these machines are not going to reduce our quality or our brand. Okay, so we can make labor better. We can make our capital, we can employ more capital or technology to improve our output. And what else? Well, actually, we could actually just organize these in a better way, right? Let's make our processes better. So can we optimize and streamline our processes to be more efficient and effective? This could be, steps, right? Let's look at step A, step B, make those steps better. Or it could be holistic. Let's redesign the entire process, right? Again, there's some structure within this structure, isn't there? Okay, so this is one approach, right? Let's increase my worker hours. Let's increase my, or decrease my hours per suit. Let's do this by hiring workers or having them work more hours. Let's do this by improving our people, improving our machines and technology, and improving our processes. That's one structure. Let's think about another one. Okay. Well, we could tweak this one, right? We could actually say, hey, let's improve our labor, right? Let's get more workers. Sorry, I misspoke a little. Let's get our workers, and then let's improve our productivity, okay? So I changed it from man hours to just men, right? To just labor, right? And what I can do is I can take that number of hours worked per worker and actually move it over to productivity, couldn't I? Right? So now our framework is essentially we can either hire more workers or we can make our workers per worker produce more suits, right? So in order to get more workers, right, we can hire existing skilled workers or train them. And in order to improve the output per worker, well, we can make our workers inherently better, right? We can improve our tools and machines, and we can improve our processes. And we could have our workers work more hours, right? So we've actually just moved a bucket or a sub-bucket over into our second level. And it's the same thing. It serves the exact same purpose, just the way we've thought about it is different. So in our first approach, it was increase worker hours, right? And decrease, the number of hours required per suit. And the second approach was increase workers and then essentially decrease the amount of workers required per suit, or really what we're saying is increase the number of suits made per worker, per day or per month, right? That's another approach. Now, we don't necessarily have to be purely mathematical here, right? We could actually take kind of our second layer and make that our structure. Okay, so what does this look like? Well, we could actually have people, processes, and tools, right? We could actually say, okay, let's look at our labor and see how we can improve our output via labor. This means either getting more workers or making the workers better, right? Or what we can do is we can improve our machines and our technology and look at ways to both complement and replace labor so that we can free up resources and produce more effectively, or we can streamline or optimize our processes. Do you see how now we have a 3-bucket framework that actually works just the same, right? The processes stayed the same, the tools stayed the same, but the labor I actually just grouped up, right? We can either increase the number of workers and worker hours, or we can improve their productivity, and that can all be within the labor bucket. Pretty nifty, huh? My last point, framework number 4. All of what we just discussed could fit in one bucket. Now, it doesn't matter how you organize it, right? Whether you liked my first approach, my second approach, or my third approach. But however you organize that, that could be categorized under the internal bucket. These are the things we can do internally, or organically, you could say, either works, to improve our output. If we've exhausted those options, or if those don't quite work, then our second bucket could be external, right? Can we partner with someone? Can we outsource? Can we buy someone? Can we hire excess capacity? What might it be, right? So we have our internal kind of organic solutions or our external inorganic solutions. That's a lot to take in. I highly recommend you watch this particular section again, just to digest the many ways in which we can grab our buckets or our categories and actually reorganize them in a way that really allows us to answer our objective of how will we increase output. Hope you enjoyed.